Hi, my name is Alessandro Angelos and that's a video tutorial coming from cgcookie.com for MaxCookie. This time we'll continue to work at the Planet Dirt tutorial series, so we'll try to have more layers that can be composite over the project. The basic layers is this one. We have the camera moving and arriving to see better the destruction there for the planet. So you see we are going near the planet. And in this case there we should have a really the biggest part of the Earth collapse there. And you know that we have other layers over for the ray. And past time we worked at this layer. So let's reload this layer. The first frame, and this one starts at frame 100, so that means that something will go over the planet at frame 100. Obviously that's the rough render, so in compositing will work more to obtain a better quality. Okay, that's the layer, that's the mask, and it is not important. Okay, so let's see what happened. You see that we have something that is burning over the surface, and then it starts to move over the planet's surface. Obviously there in the middle we'll start to have the ground collapsing, but it will be later. That means that let's go there to have the planet. We have the frame 100 there, so something must start maybe at frame 75 and arrive over the planet, and then we'll start this one, the explosion. Okay, so we need to create something there, and we need to add more details to the fire and create the background. So on the next part we should be able to start collapsing the planet and merge all the layers. So let's close there and let's see what we have. We know that something starts there, so we need something moving there, and I like to use the film effects. So we can start from the past project and we can remove the film effects. We can remove all the stuffs related to film effects, so the particles and the gravity can stay there. The drag and the wind may be useful, so let's remove just the stuffs and delete. So now we need something moving there, so we need to create a new film effects, and let's create something like that. We can move it in the middle there, and let's try to align to this line. Okay, then let's scale in this way there and there, and let's make it moving over the local axis to arrive on the ground there, and the length will be more to arrive over the Earth. Let's go at full screen. Let's have more detail over the grid there to see what we are doing, and we can have more detail, so we can scale it. Okay, then we can try to have something like we've done something related to these effects, but I like to have something more interesting, and we can try to have a simple source, and a simple source can be aligned to the line, and then we have it there. It can be more little, and we can stay there, and let's say set key, and there at 100 we have the collapsing for the explosion. So we say that it arrives over the surface. Obviously we have to change the speed, so we can select everything because it will be linear, and then we have the explosion. So let's save the project as part 6. So I will create a new folder. Let's copy from there to this one, part 6, and the name of the file will be part 6. Okay, let's go on this one, open the user interface and set this one. Let's use an higher temperature. Let's try with 1000, and then it will start at frame 50 and it will end at frame, let's say 150. Maybe we can add also an explosion there, but it's not important because maybe we can do something in comp. So we can just start to see what we have in this case without the need to change nothing. Maybe we need just a lower scale for the project, and let's go. Okay, you see that we have the smoke and we have something there, but I like to see no smoke in rendering. So that's our fire. You see that we have this shape, and we can start playing with the parameters. So let's say that we have more expansion. Let's try with 2, and let's say that we have a little bit of turbulence, and the scale can be, let's see, maybe 1 meter or maybe 1.5 meters, just to make some testing. And let's try with 3 for detail. So you see it is more like an energy stuffs. Okay, so this should be what we have. Let's say that we have a little bit less turbulence, and there I like to change the velocity parameters. So let's say that we have 4. I like to see if it is working. It is too much. Let's try to have a lower value. Okay, so we have a little bit better result. Let's try to have a lower scale to 1 with more detail. Okay, perfect. Let's see in the rendering, and let's see what happened for the first time if we have a different color. Let's say a little bit let's try with 0.35 and 0.5 there, and maybe we can go to have a key mode. So we should have there a black color, there we go for a really light color, and I like to see what we have in rendering on a test like this one. You see that we have a lot of energy there. I like to have something less visible. Something like that can be useful. Maybe a little bit more for coloring. Something like that. And let's try to play a little bit with the smoke. So we like to render again the smoke path. So you see we have a lot of smoke. Let's go to the smoke, and we should have a darker color. And a smoke color, let's say keyless mode, and we'll have something let's see. You see it's really low, and let's try to have the multiple scattering with an higher fall off. And we should need, just to make some testing to see if we find a better look, maybe this one is better, to have a lower fall off and have more lighting there. What I think actually is that the scale is too much there for the turbulence, so maybe we have to try 0.1 and 0.5. So you see it is a little bit more little, and then okay, let's use a lower scale for this one, and again play. You see now it is a little bit better. Okay, let's see for example there what we have. Maybe we can go lower, still lower with the scale. So let's go there. Let's say that we have something like that. So it is really little. Okay, let's check this frame. It is better, and we can have something like a boom effects when it collide over the surface there. So let's save, close, and we can have a little particle system there, or we can use also, let's think about maybe a little sphere. So we can align this sphere there, then we can move on the local axis or the surface there. So the scale is really little, frame 97, a key, and then let's say at frame 100 at this peak, and let's go at 97. This one must be moved. Okay, so it is little and then it is big because we have an explosion. Okay, this sphere as object properties not renderable, display as boxes, so we have just a scaling there. Save, and let's assign an object source, and the object is with the H key, the sphere 4, the last one. Let's go in the film effects, and we start having this one not use and peak the other one, and I like to see what happen. So you see we have this boom there, but we need to say that this one is animated. So auto key at frame 104, let's try. We have 0 smoke and 0 temperature. Then we can move this one to 96, so we have the high temperature. Let's move to this key, and let's say that the temperature is maybe 500. So back there, and you see we have this kind of energy, and then it will disappear. Okay, let's go to peak the sphere, and let's go to the second key, and we can say that the scale is lower. Let's go to the key there, and let's open this part, and you see these are the key, and we say linear, and again save. Let's try to simulate again. So that's the boom. It's not so big. Let's say it is burning there, so we have to animate this one. We have still to animate there some key, so we have nothing, 0 temperature and 0 smoke. So we have nothing, then we have the boom, and then nothing again. Let's recheck. We have nothing, and then we have the boom. Maybe it can stay a little bit more, so let's select this one, and we can select this key and moving for 10 frames, but I have to check if it is good or not, because maybe it is too much. So we have the boom, and then we have just a little bit of smoke all around. Okay, Let's say obviously that now we need 250 frames to be removed and simulated, and let's say that we have again also the first one to use. Let's see the entire simulation. We have the ray arriving, colliding, and then we have the boom, and it seems perfect. Maybe we have just a problem actually, and that's the problem is really simple. We have the smoke inside there that stay, you see, on the border, and I like to have more space there for the simulation. So we can scale a little bit this one to have more space. You see that the grid is not so big, so we can have something like that. Let's go inside the parameters, and we have actually 17 megabytes, so we can go lower to have an higher quality and save. Okay, let's check the actual quality. You see it's a little bit slower than before, but we should have in 2 minutes or 3 minutes the simulation. And if the simulation scale is okay, we can go for the final simulation and render it. So now I'd like to add a background. Let's say with the simulation, we continue later. Okay, so we see two problems, and the first one is that we have still there the problem with the border of the film effects, but we can solve it, and then we can see if the scaling is right. Maybe we can go with a lower scale for the effects. Let's see. There we have this kind of explosion, and there we have after the boom, but we can use maybe the wavelet turbulence. So I like to make a test with a wavelet, and to make the test with a wavelet we need I like to do something like having the gravity there, and let's say that we have 0 gravity for the moment, and let's go to have the wavelet turbulence. So close there, and add the wavelet, and let's try to simulate some frames, maybe not the entire animation but just some frames, and then we see if we can go with this configuration to speed up the workflow. You see that the simulation is a little bit slower, but that's normal because we are calculating also the wavelet turbulence, and I like to arrive to the boom before to see if it's enough. So I stop the recording so we can see later the final effects together. Maybe just checking the timing to understand if it takes too much time. Okay, let's stop. Okay, let's check until there. So cancel, and we can go in the simulation wavelet. Let's say that 2.0 can be okay for the grid scaling, and let's try with 2.5 and 2.5 for the strength, and let's go to simulate. Now we'll simulate some frames again to see how the scaling is acting, and then we'll check together. Okay, let's stop. let's go where we have this one. Let's go for a wavelet, and let's render. The effect seems not bad. Let's go maybe later, and you see that there we have the boom, and the resolution seems not bad. I like just to see something, because there we have the ray, and maybe it is a little bit still too big, or maybe not, because obviously if we add a bigger rendering it should be better, but it is not so big, our render. But I like to make a test, so let's save there, and let's go inside the rendering, and let's try to have a little bit less detail there. Let's go at default, and let's go at default, and let's simulate. It should be more little, and I like to see if it is better. And then we'll work to have something on the background. So let's stop the recording. Okay, let's check with the new resolution we are using. Let's see, for example, there. You see the scale is better, and maybe we don't need the wavelet turbulence. Let's check when we have the big explosion there. Sorry, render. It seems that we don't need the wavelet. That's really interesting. So let's go there. Let's remove the wavelet, and we can go with this simulation in this way. That's the right resolution. And another thing we need inside the project is a background, because actually we using on the first compositing just a really simple background, but it is not the right way. So we have to prepare the right one, and to prepare the right one we need a big sphere around. So we have this one, and this one can be simulated later, and then we can cancel this one, and then let's check if we have something around. We have a big sphere there. Let's say that it's renderable, and let's see what we have in rendering. Okay, we have the stars. We have to say that the Earth is not renderable, and I like to make this one still bigger, and let's say that we can render a preview, and I like to check the texture we were using. I think that we were using this one, but we can be sure checking the material. So object properties, cloud layer, but I picked the wrong mesh. So right mouse button, and we have stars. Okay, so we are talking about this layer there, and we are using a cellular map. So we can try to use, for example, 1. Let's try with 0, 2, and I like to have more variation. Let's say that we have maybe a little bit more, something like that, and trying to catch the best configuration over there. Let's say that we have still more variation. Let's say more. Okay. And let's try to have more tiling over all axes. Maybe we can try more. Let's try with 5, 5, and 5, just to have a better configuration over there. And that's not bad. And let's go for a different color. Okay. Let's call this project background. Okay. Then we need something that can be useful to be used to say where we have the sun. So we can use a sphere with a shader, and this shader will be a white self-illuminated. Then we can move the sun distant and we have to find it visible. So the best thing is to find the best position and still moving it. So something like that. Let's try to see. We are moving, so the sun will go over there. Let's make a little bit bigger because we need to track it. Let's render. Okay, we have it, but maybe it's better to have it a little bit bigger so we can track in a more simple way. So you see, for example, there we should have the sun on this position. Okay, so sorry, let's save this one, and this one is ready to be rendered too. This one is better to be rendered with a really high quality anti-alias, so maybe it's better to render with Mentorate. And let's try to have a Mitchell with 4 and 64. Let's use a more little bucket with no final gather. Okay, you see that then we can work to have more visible stars there. Okay, something like that maybe. You see more stars visible. Okay, rendered. So we have also the background. So we have the background, we have the explosion, we have the fire, we have the layer. So on the next part we should work on the planet collapsing and maybe find if we need some new layer or something like that. So you have to launch the simulation and render the part we prepared before, and you have to render this background, and you should be able to see some compositing animated attached to the project and on the website. So it will be useful to see what we are doing and how much quality we reached and which kind of layer we have to still prepare to finish the tutorial series. So on the next part, as I said before, we have to work to create the braking and the dust created by the braking. So it will be a really interesting part, and we'll have to check the compositing to understand if we need more layers to add more interesting result to the burning and all the additional effects. So for the moment that's all, and I hope to see you back on Max Cookie to check for new tutorial coming from cgcookie.com. Bye.